Hi, this is Simon Dad here. Wanted to do a video on, I guess, the broader end of a relationship and the what's commonly known as the discard phase. One thing that I've experienced both times, both with my ex-wife and my ex-girlfriend, and from what I understand is very common, if not the norm, for relationships with narcissists is that they will continue to devalue and pull back, discard, and then do the cycling and the roller coaster over time, and things will just continue to get worse and worse and worse and worse. The interesting thing, or at least interesting to me, is that in my experience, the narcissist will not in the relationship. They will continue to pull back and pull back and pull back to an absurd amount, to where it's just comical that anyone would remain in a relationship when it's like that. And my understanding is that the narcissist, with their narcissist or narcissistic supply, that even if they find a replacement, which they always do, and they overlap or monkey branch, choose your phrase, they won't discard you. They figure, okay, this person, I've used them for narcissistic supply for 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 10 years, and they don't value you any longer. You're really low as far as like the amount of respect or even supply that they feel they can get from you. But even then, there's a little bit there. And they, again, because there's no empathy and they don't care about how miserable, you might be in the relationship, or I should say, how miserable the relationship is and how bad it is and unfulfilling for both parties, they won't make a move to end it. They will just let things continue to get worse and worse and worse. So, for some real life examples, with my ex-wife, we had a situation where, for a while we were in different rooms in the house. Then we did, a house, basically two houses, where we had an apartment, and we were in this, that's how bad things were. And she was not making any attempt to end the marriage, file for divorce, get a, get that process going. And it was really confusing to me at the time. It just made no sense. Like, God, you're having all these affairs. When we are in the same room, we argue and have these like weird narcissist fights that don't go anywhere. And it's just, I couldn't understand it. And it's like, okay, if you're, trying to justify your actions by saying that the marriage is this bad, blah, 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 why don't you file for divorce? And basically, from the narcissist perspective, why would they? They can if they can have their cake and eat it too, that is perfect for a narcissist. And so in the case of my marriage, it's like, okay, I've got this guy who I, just kind of keep at arm's length as much as possible, but he pays the mortgage. He, takes care of the kids. He, makes sure that, there's a health insurance for the family, all this type of stuff. And I can just go and have affairs. And it's like in that situation, to the narcissist, they're like, no, this is heaven. This is perfect. I'm just going to keep doing this forever. And so I had to be the one to confront her and to file for a divorce. And I'm sure I would actually bet money that in narcissistic relationships, at least 90% of the time, it is the victim of the narcissistic abuse who finally says enough is enough. I have to leave for my own health. And the narcissist just doesn't even notice. But they make no move to fully discard. And again, and I would say like that 10%, there's hoovering. That 10%, there's hoovering. Again, I would bet money that in a situation where the narcissist says, okay, this is it, get out of my life, blah, 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 that 2 weeks, 4 weeks, they reach out, yeah, that book that I really like, did I leave that at your place? Can I come by and get that? So, and then with my ex-girlfriend, it was, kind of the same situation where, I got the impression that she was getting her, attention and, if you want to call that an emotional affair, go ahead, attention, validation elsewhere, as time went on. And in our relationship, things just kept getting worse and worse. Maybe we go out on a date, we went from like every couple of days to every 4 or 5 days to every week to every 2 weeks. When we did talk, it was, she was dry, and not really communicating anything. Very just emotionally distant, like she was on another planet. And that just got worse as time went on. And for like the last couple of months, I was kind of scratching my head, like, I don't get this. Why be in a relationship where you so clearly don't want to spend time with your partner, where you don't want to have any emotional connection with your partner? What the hell is that? I mean, that's like I have a relationship on paper. I mean, someone to come over and kill spiders, someone to come over and get the lid off the jar when it gets too tight. I mean, it's just bizarre. But again, it's like after the fog lifted and the puzzle pieces started falling into place, and I learned more about covert narcissism, I realized she was never going to end the relationship, ever, no matter how bad it got. Simply because, to the narcissist, way of thinking, why? Even if I'm getting like 1% of my daily narcissistic supply from this person, that's still 1%. That's a free 1% that I can get from this person. And I don't even want to spend the energy or the effort to in the relationship. Like, why should I? I'll just continue to be distant, treat them badly, neglect them, and so far they've stayed. So that seems to be working out fine. And that's how the narcissist thinks. And so they will never actually, end the relationship. They will just let it go on and on.